Hi there, it's Stacy Yasner. I'm here for Coffee Talk. Today I am going to be joined by Joe Burke from Proper Rate. He will be he is on. So uh, I am trying to get him on here. I just invited him, so he is here. So Joe, you will be joining me in just a minute. What is going on? It's always fun. I invited you, Joe. Did you get the invitation? There we go. Hopefully you will be. There you go. Technology is always so fun. It says you're unable to join. What is the deal? So fun. Just bear with us. There we go.
Ooh. Oh boy,
Hello,
my hair is
Joe.
all blown. Wind blown.
The fun part of an actual nice day in Chicago.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I'm up here in Evanston right now. Couldn't be any nicer.
Yeah, and then we're supposed to get snow this weekend,
Of
cold and
course we are.
right? Because that is how it goes here in Chicago. 70s or 80s and sunny, and then snow.
At least the
Whatever.
Cubs homestand was this week, huh?
Yeah, right? Yes. So, how are things going?
Good. It's busy out there. It's been an interesting spring market so far. How about you?
It is starting to pick up here, so it's all good. I cannot complain. Tell me what you are seeing right now with your buyers. How are you guiding them in this crazy market with very low inventory?
Yeah, I mean that's just it, right? It's a lot more buyers right now than sellers at the moment. The buyers that are out there, they've got to be ready. They got to be prepared to even make an offer because nobody's going to take you seriously right now unless you walk in pre-approval in hand. And not just pre-approval in hand, but really understand you can't, you can't go into a $400,000 listing with a $360,000 offer. You're not going to be taken seriously for that property or any other for that matter. So a lot of discussions about, how close to list or are we going over list? And then we start talking about appraisal, gap waivers, and there's a lot of extra education that seems to be going into this spring market.
Right. And as far as like the appraisals, what are you seeing as, from the lending
Yeah.
side with the appraisals?
Mostly we've been okay. I mean, this is now really 15 months of seeing properties go at or above list. And it's not every property, but a lot of what we're seeing is going, very close to, if not over list in a lot of cases. So there are comps out there for the most part. It's not as if, we were in a flat market and then suddenly came into this craziness. There have been instances recently, with short appraisals, and that's sort of to be expected when we're seeing, some of the bidding go up, 5% or more even over list price. But I think more than that, what we're talking to buyers about is when we're making offers, we're in these multiple offer situations. And as a listing agent, you want to protect your seller. So you're asking your potential buyer to maybe say, okay, if we're listed at 400, we're settling your offers at 450 and we're taking it. What are we going to do to bridge that gap between 450 and 400 in the instance that the appraisal comes in short? We just accepted your higher offer. So it's a lot of conversations about how we're putting that into contracts, what that means. On the lending side, we're always looking to see if we can get an appraisal waiver on my end. Maybe we don't even need an appraisal. That's obviously the best possible circumstance. Although for the most part, when we bid these things up over listing price, we're not seeing a lot of appraisal waivers. So
Can
it's
you
really just,
can you I'm sorry,
Mhm.
can you
Go ahead.
explain what that means for an
Yeah.
appraisal waiver?
So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loan limit is $726,000. And if we run your property through anything better than 10% down, we're going to run you through their automated underwriting system to see if we get the approval accepted without an appraisal, meaning there's no appraisal done at all. And that really allows, the buyer to be a little bit more nimble in terms of, how they're making an offer, and allows people to not worry about that appraisal being an issue. It's the instances where we're not getting that waiver on our end, where a lot of sellers are asking for buyers to, write some sort of clause or amendment to the contract stating that they're going to cover any difference between list price potentially and sales price, depending on, where we land with that.
So how many or what percentage of your buyers who go over list price are you getting the appraisal waiver for?
Um, So the actual Fannie Mae Freddie Mac waiver, I'm not seeing a lot of when we go over list price.
Okay.
And the reason for that is there is real data in their systems. We use two different automated underwriting systems, one for each, and they're collecting all the sales data. I mean, they've got more data than anybody does in terms of sales prices and appraised values. That's all flowing through their system. So that algorithm's catching whether or not the sales price on your current offer is in line with other transactions, recent transactions that have closed in the area. Once you start bidding that over list price, you're going to go out of whatever tolerance level, I guess, that they would have,
Hmm.
and it's harder to get that that appraisal waiver. So I'm not seeing as much. It has happened. I've had them recently where we got them, but to put a percentage on that I don't know if I could.
And because I know in certain areas there are homes that are sitting a little
Hmm.
longer, so there is a little room for negotiation. Is that more likely if people are able to get those homes for under ask? Is that potentially an opportunity for those appraisal waivers?
It's always an opportunity for the appraisal waiver, whether or not it's more, again, because it's property specific, because it's area specific, and then it's actually also borrower specific, right?
Okay.
Not just because the property we get a waiver with one buyer doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it with another buyer, because there is a credit component that's in there too.
Okay.
So it's not just about the property itself, it's also about the strength of the buyer.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
if it's been sitting there, my question as, a lender is going to be, well, is it sitting because it's overpriced to begin with, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always a reason, especially in this market with such little inventory. Homes are not always priced appropriately.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people I think are putting up prices and, throwing them out there and just seeing if they stick right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, okay, so credit of the strength of the borrower will impact whether or not there's an appraisal waiver
Credit and
as
down
well.
payment more than anything else. Yeah.
So if a person has 20% down, they're more likely to potentially get that appraisal waiver.
Yes, I have personally put in at 10%, 15%, 20%, and without changing the price, gotten the appraisal waiver at 20% down, but not at 10% down. So yes, I would say
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay. All right. I just wanted a little bit of
Hmm.
clarification. Just
It's interesting because there's no like hard and fast written guideline around any of
uh,
that. It's
uh,
literally me, the loan officer, playing with the system, meaning, like I just said, putting in the property address that triggers it within the automated underwriting system. So it's identifying that property address and
right.
then taking it from a 90% loan to value to maybe an 85% loan to value to maybe an 80% loan to value, and see if you catch it at one of those three.
Right.
But because there's nothing hard and fast written, you just get some mope like me who's kind of coming on and giving you their experience rather than like, oh, this is how it is. Yeah.
No, and of course, and with any lender, right? Like everyone's going to have their own
Hmm.
experience, just like any realtor is going to have
Yep.
very different experiences. And in every market, there's going to be very different experiences. So I just think it's really interesting just to have the different perspectives as we're having these discussions, because we have realtors that are joining in and listening in from different markets, and it's always great to have these different perspectives just for education, not just for a buyer, but also for different realtors and different lenders in different markets, because it's we're all going through very different experiences and all over the country.
Yeah, and
So
this is the kind of thing, the unwritten rules are the things that we need to share the most, right? Because it's the stuff that we don't know unless we're talking to other industry experts.
correct, correct. So as far as the appraisal waiver, not the appraisal waiver, the appraisal
Hmm.
gap. So I know that I have had in my all of my experience, like during COVID, I've had one time where the appraisal gap or an appraisal came back short. So, whatever we were under contract for, there was a $12,000 gap between the appraisal and what the list price was. So, with an appraisal gap contingency, people are paying over, and then the sellers are asking the buyers to cover that gap, or part of that gap, because we've written that and it had to cover a little bit of that. So how often, or have you had experiences where appraisals have come in much higher than the list price in this market, especially when home prices are, there's multiple offers?
I have actually, and I've been surprised at appraisals across the board right now, because they're because it has been so specific to area, right? And sometimes we forget to look outside of our area. We don't really, you forget what's going on maybe just a few blocks away from where you were looking for comps to begin with. I had one very, very recently. The purchase price was, call it right around 900,000, or the list price was. The contract price was for about 950, and on that particular deal, there was an appraisal addendum, that the buyer would cover everything down to the $900,000 list price. But in the case of that appraisal, it came in much higher than list. Of course, that information stays with me and with our buyer. Um,
Right.
but in that particular one, I know the area very, very well, and I was not surprised that they used comps in like in the couple of square blocks where they found the comps. I was more surprised that those comps existed, that there was, a 1.5 story home that sold for $1.1 million that supported our value a few blocks away. So it it's we get blinders sometimes on. We're so locked into what we're doing, for that one property, that one specific buyer. Sometimes we forget to maybe look a little bit outside of even the area that we would normally look. And that's what happened with this appraisal, which was a good thing for everybody involved in this one.
Right. I mean, and I think sometimes we also, the appraisers don't always know the
Right.
neighborhood as well as we do. So that could be to our benefit. It could also be to our detriment, depending
Yeah.
on, you know, what if you're on the buy side, if you're on the sell side, I suppose.
Yeah, that was the good story. The bad story is when it appraises short, and then we have to start talking strategies. And I think the addendums are nice because it sets everybody up for what to expect in the event that we get an appraisal that's short, right? When we don't have the addendum, and I don't expect that there's going to be an addendum on every deal, and that would be difficult to do, but when there is no addendum, then we have to kind of go into damage control mode of, are we going to meet in the middle? Are we going to, who feels like they've got more leverage? Is it the buyer that feels like they've got leverage, or the seller that feels that they've got leverage? And those are the transactions that start to get a little uncomfortable, as you well know on your end.
Right, right. Yes. So, yeah, yeah. So, as from the lender perspective, what guidance or suggestions do you have for buyers, going into this market? I mean, our spring market hasn't totally picked up the way that we would like it
Hmm.
to, in certain areas. I think in parts of the city where homes are priced appropriately, we're seeing a ton of people come through open houses. I know in some of the suburbs, um, they're seeing tons of people come through open houses, and they're getting multiple offers in certain suburbs. But in other, like I said, in other places, homes are sitting on the market. So what are there specific um, programs that you're offering to buyers right now? Are there things that you can help prepare a buyer um, as to be the best prepared
Yeah.
going?
I think if we're talking specifically about appraisals and contract price and stuff, I think you, the real estate agent, have never been more important, ever, right? I mean, um, 10 years ago we were afraid of discount brokers and things like that. I don't think real estate agents have ever been more worth what they're worth in this current market, because there is so much guidance that buyers need, to be prepared for things like appraisal gaps. And you're you guys negotiate every day for a living, and that's really important in a market like this where we've got so many more buyers than we do sellers in so many different areas of the market. So I think first and foremost, I would tell any buyer to really find a good real estate agent, trust that agent, and take their advice in terms of, when we're talking about, should we be getting into one of these, appraisal waivers? Because from a buyer perspective, that's maybe not necessarily the best course of action. Of course, the seller wants that because it protects their price. Um, from, like you were mentioning, programs and things like that, there are programs out there for first time buyers right now. Anybody, you'll hear them advertised all over the place. If you make less than $105,000, for instance, in Cook County, you are going to qualify for below market interest rates. It's a big deal right now for people, especially with the interest rate market being what it is. And then, $726,000 being the conforming loan limit. I mean, you can buy a property at 3% down with a conforming underwriting, for $750,000. I mean, the box is never, it hasn't been bigger than this since, the recession 12, 13 years ago. This is as big as the box has gotten, for all buyers. I mean, there's 10% down programs for multi-unit properties that get into the $1 million range. There's all kinds of things that we can do to get people into properties. What we lack right now is properties.
Right. No, and I understand that. I just want people to be aware. I know a lot of people think like you need to put 20% down. People still think that,
Yeah.
but that's not the reality of it. Can you just touch? So you said 10% down to get into a
Hmm.
multi-unit. Now, if the unit has rental potential, how does that get the rental income? How is that used towards their income?
So that depends on what we're talking about in terms of program. If you're Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that's your pretty vanilla underwriting guidelines. A 2-unit primary residence, 15% down is your minimum, mostly across the board, and for 3 and 4 units, it's 20%. Um, those programs, you can use 75% of the actual rents or of the estimated rents to offset a monthly payment. For your more portfolio, like 10% down, 3 to 4 unit property, the programs that I have, at least right now, they do not allow you to use rental income to offset payment. So you have to qualify for that property outright in order to qualify at 10% down. That said, there are not and haven't been a lot of 10% down programs for 3 and 4 units. So that's still a great program if you're the right buyer. You just have to qualify for the entire monthly payment.
Got it. I was thinking more like as a primary residence, like with like a two flat, a
Mm-hmm.
standard two flat. So
So
got it.
for that, you'd be looking at 15 or 20.
15 to 20% down. Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. All right. Um, you've like shared so much information. My head is spinning,
Yeah.
which has been great. I just think that there's so much that a first time home buyer needs to be aware of. Even still today, 2 years later, there's just so much. And I know that people are really overwhelmed. And you are correct. It is really important to have a good, not just a good realtor, a good team of
Yeah.
people to help them through the process. A realtor, a lender, an attorney, if attorneys are used in their state, and just a good supporting cast of people to help them through the process.
And it's never too early to reach out to anybody. I mean, you could be a year out
Correct.
and well, that could be your best referral source for the year that they're getting set up. So anybody in our industry should be, and the good people are willing to sit down and talk to you way before you're ready to do something. And I'm always encouraging people to, even if you're 2 years out, sometimes it's a good idea not to, just not to maybe get pre-approved, but to run numbers and set goalposts for yourself.
Right, because you can help someone if they're unsure of how much they need to put down to help put a plan
Yeah.
together to help them get there.
Yeah. Or maybe there's a credit issue, or maybe, we talked to a lot of people that maybe one spouse went back to grad school, and we're not ready now, but we know our income is going to double, 18 months from now to graduation. Um, you know, Kids right out of school that first year, should I rent or should I buy? Well, maybe you're not ready to buy, but let's go through the process. Let's see what a buy looks like, rent for that 12 months and come back and do it in the fall. Um, there's a million different reasons, whether it's, we have student loans that are going to be paid off, or we're going to pay off a car loan or something, and we know that's going to give us a better purchase power. What can I do to position myself best by paying off credit card debt potentially? But there's a million different things that we could talk about that are going to put you in a better position to buy when you're ready to buy.
Right, right. So, and then I know you have your online application, but once they fill out that online application, how quickly, I mean, there's all of those online lenders, right? And they
Hmm.
give them the pre-approval or the pre-qual, but that's not really significant to go out and make an offer because they haven't really looked at their bank statements and all of their information. And so, you guys will sometimes run them under the automated underwriting, right? To see if
Yeah.
they will really qualify. So how long does that process truly take?
Yeah. It can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 20 days, really. And the online application is an incredible tool to have in our toolbox. It really is. I mean, 10 years ago, we were literally doing everything by hand. We were, typing everything in over a phone call and then asking people to, mail in documents and things like that. So I the downside of the online application, I think you're alluding to, is that people don't do their due diligence. They're not verifying income and credit and things like that. They're just, put the information in, spit out an answer, and move on. But it should be part of your process. That's how I use it. We generally do a 10-minute kind of onboarding phone call, get people's information. We find out what they're looking for. We send them a set of numbers and some materials we're going to review. We have them fill out an online application, and then it's up to me, the loan officer, to go through, determine what I need from a documentation standpoint, if anything. Now, when I say it could take 20 minutes, if you're a W-2 employee and your employer reports your income to Equifax, I can get right there, real time online, your income verified without pay stubs, without W-2s, and it's a real income verification. If you bank with, like, let's say Chase and Fidelity or something, we can do account check and literally. So if you fill out an online application and I get on the phone with you 15 minutes later, I can have your income verified, your assets verified before we get on that. And I've got a credit pull. So 20 minutes after you fill out an online application, you get a human who's actually looked at your file, who's looked at your credit, who's looked at your income, and we can have a pre-approval out that fast. Literally, and not just the, oh, they filled something out online and just got something spit out to them, but an actual human has looked everything over and verified their income and asset credit information. So it can be
Right.
very, very quick.
Okay, and then for someone like me who's a 1099,
Hmm.
how long does that take? And what other additional items? You need a profit and loss statement? Like what
No,
else do you
not a
need?
P&L right now. So for anybody who's self-employed, it's obviously going to be a little bit longer.
Right,
But I mean, still do it same day all the time, right? If you filled out the online application, again, like the beauty there is that we set you up with a portal. You log into that portal, and now you see a task list, so you can upload your W-2s, pay stubs, your tax returns for the last 2 years. So a lot of, the answer to that question comes down to the buyer. How organized are you? Where are we in the
right,
tax year, right? So like right now we're 2 weeks away from tax day. So, probably 70% of people have their taxes done at this
R-
point, or at least they're working on them. Um,
Right.
but then you run into somebody who, maybe we're a 70% owner of our company and we've got 3 or 4 different K1s and we don't file until October. So, you know, all aren't created equally in terms of that self-employment. So, for somebody like you, let's say that's 1099, we've got one stream of income. We file their taxes in March. I can have you done in a couple hours, maybe even faster.
Got it.
Somebody with a more complicated return, we're going to take a little longer, a little bit closer look at.
Got
Mhm.
it. Okay. I was just curious
Yeah.
because I know that's my biggest fear right now is the fact that I've been a 1099 and I lived through COVID and all of that and, you know, all that fun stuff.
We have
But
done away
that's
with most requirements for profit and loss at this point, unless we need to show some type of consistency, or we had inconsistencies maybe in the last 2 years and we need to, reinforce last year's earnings. So, but it's not a prerequisite the way it was during COVID,
got
where
it.
we were really looking for, declines in 2020 and 2021. The thought is that by 22 tax return, hopefully we've filtered through those bad years at this point.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that again, very useful and helpful information. So awesome. I really appreciate it, Joe.
Anytime. This was fun.
Thank you. It was a wealth of information, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because there's lots of tidbits of information that I'm sure people will get some great use out of. I know I will. So I do appreciate it, and like always, I always appreciate talking to you because you always have great information.
Thank you, Stephanie. Or Stacy, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
watching all
So,
these names come up on Instagram Live here, and it's freaking me out.
right? I
Hmm.
know, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate it, and go enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. I hope you don't have to go sit in your office. I hope you're going to take your girls to go do something fun when they're done with school.
They'll take them to do whatever they want to do. They don't do fun things with dad anymore.
No, they're too old for that.
That's right. Got
So,
to hang out at Starbucks or Southport Corridor. That's what the cool kids do now.
oh, I see. I
Mhm.
see. Sorry, you and my boyfriend can commiserate that the girls don't want to hang out with them anymore.
Yep.
He's not looking forward to his daughter graduating from high school. So,
That's a rough one.
yep. Oh well, it happens. They grow up. So, all right. Well, enjoy the beautiful weather, and I will talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Stacy. Good to see you.
You
Take
too. Bye.
care.